All right, so today we are going to break down one of the most complicated, most improbable playoff scenarios in recent memory. We're talking about Crvena Zvezda's razor-thin path to a direct playoff spot. I mean, the odds are seriously stacked against them, but the question is it still mathematically possible? Let's get into it. So let's just cut right to the chase, shall we? The one question on every single Zvezda fan's mind right now, after this absolutely chaotic end of the season, is that direct playoff spot, that coveted sixth place. Is it still actually on the table? Or is it just wishful thinking at this point?
Believe it or not, the answer is yes. Now look, it's a long shot. It's going to require what is basically a perfect storm of results to all fall into place. But the math checks out. The path to sixth place, as incredibly narrow as it is, does exist. The dream is absolutely 100% still alive.
Okay, so how on earth do they pull this off? Well, the journey starts right here. We got to understand the battlefield. So let's take a quick look at the current standings, focusing on all the key teams tangled up in this fight for the final playoff spots.
And here is the mess we are dealing with. It's a total logjam. You've got Žalgiris just barely hanging on to that number 6 spot with 22 wins. But look right behind them. It's a three-way traffic jam. Zvezda, Panathinaikos, and Monaco are all sitting there with the exact same 21-16 record. You literally can't get any closer than that.
Now, before we even start talking about tiebreakers or what other teams need to do, everything, and I mean everything, hinges on one single monumental task for Zvezda. It's a task that, frankly, many are calling an impossible mission.
This right here is the absolute foundation for any sixth-place dream. There is no alternative path. There's no other calculation that works. Crvena Zvezda has to go to Madrid and beat one of the best teams in the entire league on their home court. If this doesn't happen, everything else we're about to talk about is completely irrelevant.
And just to really hammer home how massive that challenge is, just look at this number. Real Madrid's record at home this season is a staggering 17 wins and only 1 loss. So Zvezda doesn't just need a win, they need to do what almost no other team in Europe has managed to do all year. Okay, let's just imagine for a second that Zvezda pulls off the miracle in Madrid. They win. That's it, right? They're in? Nope, not even close. See, this is the really tough part. Their fate is not entirely in their own hands. After securing that win, they have to sit back and become the biggest fans of 3 other teams. So here it is. This is the checklist for that perfect storm. And you'll notice it's not just about teams losing. It's a very specific combination of wins and losses. The current number 6 seed, Žalgiris, has to lose. But then, the other 2 teams that are tied with Zvezda, Panathinaikos and Monaco, they both have to win. Any other combination of results, and this path to 6th place closes for good.
So, what happens if all of those things fall into place? If Zvezda wins and those 3 other games go exactly the way they need them to? Well, that's when you get the most complicated, and for Zvezda fans, the most beautiful scenario possible. A massive 4-way tie.
And this is what that would look like. All 4 of these teams, Zvezda, Panathinaikos, Žalgiris, and Monaco, would all end the regular season with the exact same record, 22 wins and 16 losses. So how do you possibly decide who gets 6th place? This is where we have to bust out the EuroLeague tiebreaker rulebook. So the first step is actually pretty simple in theory. The league basically ignores all the other games these teams played all season and creates a special little mini-league table. They only look at the head-to-head results from the games played between these specific 4 teams. And this is where things get really, really interesting. In this mini-league, Žalgiris and Monaco, they kind of fall away. But Crvena Zvezda and Panathinaikos both rise to the top with identical 4-2 records against the group. So we're still tied. So the rulebook says we gotta go another level deeper. Since Zvezda and Panathinaikos are still deadlocked, we now have to throw out the results against Žalgiris and Monaco and look only at the head-to-head results between Zvezda and Panathinaikos themselves. And this is it. This is where it all pays off. The tiebreaker comes all the way down to the point differential from the 2 games Zvezda and Panathinaikos played against each other way back when. And it's Crvena Zvezda that holds that critical +10 advantage. A tiny detail from months ago is what could ultimately launch them into 6th place. It's just wild. Now, that's the dream scenario. But what if that perfect storm doesn't happen? What's the backup plan?
Well, securing 7th place and a spot in the play-in tournament is a much more straightforward and, frankly, a more likely possibility.
For most of the ways they could get 7th, that win in Madrid is still pretty much essential. But here's the thing, 7th place is a really valuable prize. You get home court advantage for that first play-in game, which is huge. And even if you lose that game, you still get a second chance to make the playoffs. It's a very, very good position to be in. But after all the calculations, all the tiebreakers, and all the what-ifs, the whole story just comes right back to where it started. It's all about one game in one of the toughest arenas in Europe that's going to decide everything.
In the end, it really all comes down to this sentiment right here, which basically translates to, but while the game is on, there's a chance. Nothing is over for the red and whites yet. It's a mission that requires a miracle in Madrid and a perfect storm of results from everyone else. The path is narrow, for sure, but for Crvena Zvezda, it is not impossible.